Welcome to Keep What You Earn, where entrepreneurs of all levels learn how to navigate the financial side of entrepreneurship so they can keep what they earn and grow their business with confidence. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA, coach, and business mentor, here to simplify the money side of business for you so you can build your wealth and create the life you desire. Each week, I'll bring you guest interviews and solo episodes to help you unlock growth in your business through both strategy and mindset. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information contained in this episode is intended for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Please seek the assistance of a qualified accounting or tax professional to implement anything you may learn in today's episode. All right, let's dive in. So if you've been listening to the show, you know that one of our passions here at Keep What You Earn is to make numbers a little bit more approachable, less daunting, and dare I say fun to actually understand when it comes to your business. And I'm really excited this week to welcome someone else with a very similar mission to what we're doing at Financial Solutions, Melissa Houston. She's a CPA, and her mission is to make numbers less daunting for entrepreneurs. But what makes her unique is her experience in social work and her ability to step into the shoes of the business owner and meet them where they're at. She's overcome her own struggle with $100,000 of debt, and she's super passionate about helping others overcome their own financial fears and struggles. Her focus is on a foundation of money mindset, which I totally agree with. And I just really appreciated this conversation talking about how to truly harness and own your financial power as a business owner. We're going to talk about how your financial professional fits into that entire mission of owning your power. And we're going to be talking about how you can show up as the CEO that you are to really feel confident around your finances. So without further ado, let's welcome Melissa to the show. Hey, Melissa, welcome to the podcast. Lovely to have you.
Oh, thank you, Shannon. I'm so happy to be here today.
So tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got started with your profession, because as I always say, none of us grew up wanting to be accountants. So I would love hearing a story about how that happened.
I love how you said that because it's so true, right? Like it certainly wasn't a dream of mine when I was a little girl. So I actually became an accountant out of my second career choice. So my first career was in social work. And I worked in social work for about six years, and I realized it was a very high burnout field. And if I wanted to, get married and have kids and stuff, like if I continued down this path, then I just wouldn't be able to offer what I needed to offer at home, right? So I went back to school, chose to go into business because I enjoyed it when I was in school, like in high school, learning about it and stuff. And it was time to choose a major. And of all the majors, I chose accounting because my dad thought it would be a good idea. I didn't know what to choose.
I hear that. Anyone who heard episode number 1 knows that's kind of how it started for me too.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. My dad, I lost a bet with my dad and ended up majoring in accounting. So.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah. So, I mean, he was like, it's a very respectable career and you can make a good income doing it. And so I'm like, all right. So then I decided to pursue accounting and pursue my accounting designation. And so I've been working in the field for over 20 years and recently branched out and started a business of my own.
Perfect. What inspired you to start your own business?
Well, see, it's funny because having that social work background and having those numbers backgrounds and understanding how valuable the numbers are for business owners, but also seeing how fearful they are of their business numbers, I decided to marry both skills. And the social worker in me wants to help business owners understand their numbers so that they can make their business as profitable as it can be. Totally. So through that, I offer one-on-one coaching and I offer fractional CFO services.
Perfect. And the thing that I always notice with business owners is everyone's really intimidated by accounting and finance professionals. They assume like, yes. Oh God, it's so scary. I feel like the dentist to a kid. You know what I mean? Like, no one looks forward to talking to us. They're like, oh, here comes that annual meeting I have to go to and all that. Because there's a lot of negativity associated with our profession in the sense of like fear and intimidation and and not really feeling confident around numbers. And I think that it's way too common right now, especially way too common, a lot of insecurity and fear. I love that you have that background in social work though, because that is so necessary to really derive success with clients. Would you agree?
I would agree. And I totally agree with you about the bad reputation with, people not wanting to see accountants. But I also feel in my work experience, it probably was rightfully earned because I found a lot of accountants that I worked with, and this is where my idea kind of was born through, was that they were not treating their clients with respect, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was a very intimidating office environment. You would come in, like the business owner would come in, sit down, listen to the spiel that the accountant is giving, and the accountant wasn't even reaching the client in their own terms. They were spewing out the high level accounting jargon and making it very difficult for the client to understand and follow the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I do understand why and where that fear base comes from, but I'm also really grateful to see so many business owners like you and me, or accountants like you and me, that are interested in changing that reputation and that dynamic with the clients, and really meeting the clients where they're at and being there to help them and support them through their journey, not being that, intimidating factor.
Yeah, I always say I'm a client service business first and a tax business second. That's what
Yes.
it is. It's not about just getting the filings done and feeling that make me feel successful. It's about how does the client feel about it, and that's everything anchors to the client's goals. That's actually one of our core values. Is everything
Love
has
that.
to anchor to the client's goals. It's not just about getting it done or doing it on our own. What we think is best. It's about what is best for the client. So we're talking about hiring a professional, right? A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, especially those who are listening right now, may have a financial professional on their team. But I think there's a common misconception, both in the form of, that the person is not helpful or dry or whatever, like with all the typical accountant stereotypes that we're used to hearing about. There's also another piece to that, which is, cool, I have a financial professional. I've handed off everything to them. They handle it. Right.
Oh, I know.
So it's the
Yeah.
complete shift of, I've got Shannon. She handles everything. Now I love providing my clients that comfort to know that I am handling everything. And I do talk about that. I turn into the Olivia Pope of finances, right? Like we handle everything. We'll handle it.
Yeah.
But there is a gray area in between, right? Between like Shannon just does it all and the business owner doing nothing with the numbers, never looking at them. I don't think that's a healthy mix. Could you talk to that a little bit?
Absolutely. And I completely agree with you. It's not a healthy mix because, and I've seen this often where business owners feel like, okay, I have a professional in charge. I don't need to know anything about it because it does scare me and I don't want to get involved and I've got other things to deal with. And the thing is, and I always say this, nobody will ever care about your business as much as you do. So never give that financial power away. And it's not to say that if you're letting your accountant or financial advisor deal with everything that they're not to be trusted. That is not what I'm saying at all. But there have been incidences where people have given their financial power away and it's been taken advantage of. So when you are involved, you don't need to be in that, deep in the weeds involvement, but that high level involvement, and you're checking your financial statements and you're checking in on your bank balances and what's going on in your bank account, et cetera, it closes that gap for people to take advantage of you. Now, the second reason, and this is probably the predominant reason why I think business owners should be involved in their finances, is because if you don't understand what's going on in your business and your business numbers, then the decisions that you're making, you don't understand if you're making profitable decisions or not. So as a business owner, it's your responsibility to understand how your business operates. And the best way to understand how your business operates is how you make profit, right? So if you're, having a really good understanding of the products that you're selling or services that you're offering and the profit margins that go behind it and what makes up those profit margins, then when you're making decisions for your business, you will be able to optimize that profit that you're making because you're making clear, confident financial decisions that are going to work in favor for your business.
Yeah. And reviewing them timely as well. So not also
timely is key. Yes.
Not also waiting until next March to find out how you did.
Yes. And we all know that because what happens is like, okay, say right now we're in February at the time of recording. If I don't look at my financial reports until I, hand them over to my accountant, maybe next January or February, I have a whole year that has gone by and I could have major money leaks going on in my business. And if I had just looked at my numbers in February, I could have corrected them versus leaking out thousands and thousands of dollars in my business over that year. So it makes sense to look at your financials in a timely manner so that you can fix any issues before they become huge money drains.
Right. And here's a question that might be on the minds of our listeners right now is, okay, I got it. I listened to the podcast. I'm listening to Shannon. I know I need to look at my numbers, but I have no idea what to ask, what I'm looking at, how to interpret. Like, I'm committed to looking at them, but where do I start? What do I do? What should I be asking? And if an accountant is not necessarily, at least this is how we operate, is that we try to make that as easy as possible by saying, here's the report, here's a booking link to discuss it with us, right? We try to make it as easy as possible. But for those who maybe aren't getting that push from their accountant, what can they be doing to provoke that or to start that conversation and start looking at their numbers?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a ton of podcasts they could be listening to get that information. There's a lot of articles they could be reading. There's so much content online. If they feel overwhelmed through this content, there's business coaches like myself who set up programs to specifically show the business owner what they need to know and understand so they can operate at the most efficient CEO level that they can, right? So I have a 5-step program where I teach my business owners how to look at the high level finance information in their business. They don't need to be the bookkeeper. They don't need to understand debits and credits and how accounting works and stuff like that. But they do need to understand how to read their financial reports and how to create those business plans, those financial business plans, and those operating forecasts and monitoring the results against their expenses and all this day-to-day stuff like cash management, this stuff that they get to do in their business on a daily basis, whereas you only meet with your accountant maybe quarterly, maybe annually, right?
Right. Yeah. And you should be meeting with your accountant more frequently if you can. I think the part
If
of
you
it
can.
too is there's this constant struggle of business owners not knowing they can reach out to their accountant, or the most common scenario I see, which is the accountant doesn't respond, unfortunately, but the business owner reaching out to their accountant to go meet with them, and the accountant assuming the business owner is going to reach out if they have questions, but the business owner assuming the accountant's going to reach out if there's something to say.
Yeah.
So there's this constant silence happening year round. And I think that we, as accountants, need to do a better job of actually provoking the questions and starting the conversations for the client who are probably intimidated to go in and ask questions because they don't know what to ask. But I know there are questions. So
Absolutely.
I think my suggestions probably would be something to the effect of, can you help me understand this a bit better? What should be based on this? What do you think my areas of focus should be to bring up my profit this year? Just starting those types of questions, even though they are very open-ended and very, vague in some respects, you want to start the conversation so that the accountant is then, provoked to say, let me think about that, and get them thinking about how they can do that for you if they have not provided that information to you, or if they're not providing that service, see if they will offer that for you. Because I think that no matter what, it has to get done. It has to get, discussed.
I love that you bring this up because your accountant really needs to be a partner in the relationship, right? And I always say to my clients, if you're not getting help from your accountant, and if you feel that you can't have a conversation with them and have their help and guidance, then that's a red flag. Maybe it's time to start looking for, a different solution, a different alternative.
Absolutely. And so do you have any examples or stories of clients who have, really been able to show up as a CEO in their business because they were able to understand their numbers, or where that made an impact into their business one way or another?
Yeah, most of the clients that I work with, the stories are fantastic, right? Because typically they're coming to me in the beginning and they're feeling very overwhelmed and very fearful of their numbers and such. And then when we go through the program and they learn each step, the transformation is incredible, right? So what what typically happens with me. And one thing that one client that sticks out to me in particular is their product-based business, and they were selling several products, but they had absolutely no idea how profitable each product was. And it turned out that they were selling the least profitable product. And it didn't make sense to do that because the profit margins were so low on that product. So when they realized where their real moneymaker was, and that was achieved through knowing their business numbers, knowing how to read those reports, understanding their profit margins, then they were able to start selling the products that were actually the money makers that their customers really enjoyed purchasing, and it fattened up their profit line. It made their business so much more valuable.
If you have an accountant who does your taxes, but you only see them once a year, I guarantee that you're not maximizing your tax savings. What you're actually doing is paying someone to do a report of how your money spent the year and talking about what happened in the past. Well, tax strategy is all about thinking about the future. You deserve a partner who can help you be proactive with lowering your tax bill and not just reactive. At Financial Solutions, we believe that tax services should be transformational, not transactional. That's why we offer tax strategy services that include a complete tax plan, meetings with me and our team, and year-round email and text message support to make sure you're always optimizing your taxes based on your goals. Book a consult with us using the link in the show notes and find out how you can save thousands right now. Yeah, and so earlier on in our conversation, we talked about owning your own financial power. Can you expand a little bit on that in terms of what is their financial power? Like, how do you define that? And how do you think that folks can own that?
Absolutely. So your financial power is just knowing what's going on in your business finances, managing your money on a daily basis, whether it's in your business or your personal finances. That is empowerment, right? So wealthy people are wealthy because they know how to manage their money, not necessarily because they make a lot of money, because you can make a ton of money and still have no wealth. So knowing how to manage your money is key. And knowing how to manage that in your business is going to make your business more profitable. So it's so important to get in there and understand what's going on.
Totally agree. And it's just so important to, like you said, no one cares about it as much as you do. So you need to own that I hate using the children analogy all the time, but it's like, it's your kid. Like no one will love your kid the way that you do.
It's your baby. Your business is your baby. Yes.
It's your baby.
As a mother, I can totally believe that.
Yeah. It's like you created it. This is your vision come to life, and nobody will completely covet it the way that you do. And it's just important to understand that. And even the most skilled and the accountant who cares the most, right, is still not going to care as much as you do. We can't possibly.
Absolutely. And it also depends on what you've engaged your accountant with, right? So quite often I get frustration from my clients who are saying, well, I thought my accountant would be looking at that. And I'm like, well, have you looked at the engagement letter and see what you're actually expecting for services? And the thing is, when they start looking at it, they realize, oh, I'm only sending them my books. They're reviewing my books and they're completing my tax return. They're not there to help me manage my business on a day-to-day level, right?
Right.
So first of all, make sure that you are in fact engaged with an accountant. Like if that's what you're looking for, that you're engaged with an accountant who's going to give you that feedback. Otherwise, to expect it from the accountant is really unfair.
Right. And here's a dead giveaway. If you're spending like $200 a year on an accountant,
such a dead giveaway.
Kind of a dead giveaway. But if just because you have an accountant is like saying, I have a doctor or I have X, Y, and Z, right? But it's like, if you didn't order, like I have a personal chef, if you didn't order the food that you wanted, they're not going to bring it to you and read your mind. So the idea is that you have to also be aware. And this is, again, another like stalemate between accountants and entrepreneurs, because accountants are like, they're going to order what they want. But the accountant is like, I have no idea what you sell sometimes if the accountant isn't clear, but I also don't know what I need. So they actually rely on the accountant to tell them, what do I need? Can I just give you money and you do everything? Well, what's everything, right? So it's understanding the scope of services. And that's huge. I have a little bit of a story on this. Undergoing a transition from a prior client and I'm sure you've been through this as well, a client who had a prior accountant, they didn't have a disengagement letter. They didn't have a scope of services. Like the client didn't keep the engagement letter. And I adopted the client not knowing what exactly the other accountant was doing for them. And that's also a really tough position to be in when you don't know what the client's expecting you to do. So to your point, it's really important to understand the engagement agreement that you have with your accountant. And if you don't have one, make sure you get one. Because if you don't have one with your accountant where it lays out what you ordered, then it's going to be super confusing and blurry in terms of what are they actually doing for you and how much time are they spending on you? And are they charging you a good price for that? Right.
Mm-hmm. And, going back to your really good example of paying $200 for your accountant, I mean, you get what you pay for, right? So the other concern I have is so many clients are like, well, I don't want to spend a lot of money on my accountant because I just need them to do my tax return. And that's not the case. Your accountant is there to add value and tax saving strategies and all sorts of other stuff that you don't necessarily see. But once you engage with your accountant, if they're a good accountant, they will be saving you money time and time again, year over year, and you need to pay for that advice, right? So going to get your return done for $200 may affect your checkbook temporarily. But if you think about it, you could have saved thousands of dollars by following tax advice that your accountant provided you for a higher price, but you're still getting that return on that investment.
Yeah. And my other advice would be if you're listening to this and you're going, okay, I'm ready, I'm committed. Let's go get someone who can give me tax advice. Another thing I would also recommend is talk about the expectations for implementation of that tax advice, because I just talked about this with another colleague of mine saying, you can give them the recipe. Like the accountant can give the entrepreneur the recipe. Here's how you can save money in taxes. If they don't know how to cook it, then it's not going to come out as good as you would have cooked it. So, and then they're going to call you and say, can you go fix it? So, so
your analogies are great.
this is what we do here. So it's, you want to make sure that you fully understand the recipe, or you just hire the chef to cook it. Like, let's be honest, like you save yourself the money and time of having to redo, but you want to make sure that if you're hiring someone to do your tax strategy work, that they're implementing it with you, that they're part of the team and helping you get through it. Because paying for like a tax plan or paying for these empty tax strategies, if you don't understand them, is going to be really hard to go implement on your own. So you want to have someone there by your side the whole year round, which is exactly our model. And I know it's yours too, is like just teaming up with the client as opposed to making it transactional.
Exactly. And the other thing that I often advise clients, since we're talking about it, is just because your neighbor or your friend or, your business friend, whomever is following certain tax advice that their tax accountant has given them, does not mean that that's going to apply to your situation, right? Everybody's tax situation is unique, and your tax accountant is going to take in quite a slew of variables to come up with your personalized tax plan. So just because, colleague A is doing, X, Y, and Z doesn't mean that that's going to be the biggest benefit for your situation as well.
Exactly. And just because somebody on TikTok said that you could deduct something doesn't mean
yes.
that you can. I always talk about that. So let's talk about any other stories you have of entrepreneurs or business owners who either owned their financial power in a big way or maybe didn't and suffered as a result.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many great examples of entrepreneurs who are really killing it in business, and they understand their numbers and they understand what makes them profitable. And they're, pulling in 7-8 figure revenues per year, which is absolutely fantastic. And as I get to know these entrepreneurs, I see one of the main thread between all of them is that they know their business numbers. They understand their financial metrics. They understand how to measure that success and work for it. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately for me, my clients usually come to me looking to get there, to get to that spot. And I have so enjoyed working with so many clients, and I've seen so many scenarios where, they're going from, I don't want to look at my books, I just want to sweep it under the rug, I don't want to deal with it, to actually empowering themselves and being able to make those financial decisions. For example, I was working with a lawyer who was very close to being a 7-figure business, but when she came to me, she had $150,000 worth of debt and couldn't understand why. Right. So through digging through their numbers, looking at what's been going on, seeing how she was making her decisions in her business, and understanding the implications and ramifications and consequences of poor decision making and not understanding her numbers, getting to that spot where she did understand her numbers, within the year, she turned her negative balance to positive. She started making well over 7 figures, and her profit margins went, up to 30%. It was really beneficial for her to invest that time, right? Because a lot of business owners are like, I'm so busy, I don't want to invest the time. I don't have the time. But investing that time to learn something that really, when somebody's breaking it down for you and showing you exactly what you need to know, is not a huge investment of time in the end, is so beneficial because it translates into dollars that you get to keep for yourself.
Right. And it's the equivalent of I could give you a million exercises you could do at home, right? If I'm a personal trainer, and I used to work in fitness for about 8 years, and I could give you every workout on the planet, but are you going to go do it if I'm not, setting an appointment and showing up and standing there and telling you 2 more, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not telling you to do it. It's really, and this is for me too. Trust me. I have a trainer. I have a gym in my basement that I seldom use unless I have a trainer telling me to use it. So it's amazing. We all pay for the accountability. So sometimes it's worth paying a financial professional for that accountability, which is, I think, the side effect of hiring a professional. If they're really good, is what you're actually paying for is the accountability to go do the things that you should be doing as an executive. But also because we all have this weird thing about, we don't want to be late for anybody else. I used to wake up at 4:00 in the morning to go teach boot camp classes. I would never do that for myself. I would never, but I would do it not because I was getting paid, but because they were all waiting outside that door for me to unlock it.
Yeah. It's so true.
That's the thing, is like, they're relying on you. You feel pressure. You feel this accountability. You'll show up differently. And if you're listening to this and you're not sure how to move forward because you're like, okay, I like the idea of doing all of this, I want these results, but I just feel like it's so challenging for me to get started and to have that conversation or to find an accountant at X, Y, and Z. My advice would be hire someone like Melissa, like myself, like any other accountant that that's a little bit more talking at your level. And what I would say is hire them for a session to literally walk you through, what should I do next? What is my next move? How do I understand this report? Here's a P&L. Can I just pay you to tell me how to read this?
Yeah. It's so true.
And they should be able to do that for you, or your accountant can do that for you. If you have a good relationship with them, you should be seeking out that guidance. And even this is where the coaching comes in, right? This is what you do with your 5-step process, right? Is a little bit of accountability, but kind of walking through in a digestible way the basic elements of the business. So could you tell us a bit more about your 5-step framework?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first step is actually dealing with your money mindset, because as business owners, we have money mindset blocks that could hold us back from being the best business owners that we can be. And the second step is understanding your financial reports. We've got 3 main financial reports that you need to understand and know how to read. So it helps you make decisions in your business. The third step is creating that financial plan, that 1-year plan that shows you how you're going to get to your goals, right? So if you've decided that you want to increase your revenue from $250 to $1 million by the end of the year, you create that financial plan that's going to support that and be reasonable, smart, and measurable. And then the fourth step is, now that you have that financial plan created, you need to measure your progress against that plan each and every month. Have those money dates, look at your financial reports, look at what you actually did and compare it to what you planned, and understand why you either met, didn't meet, or exceeded your goals, because that's valuable information and feedback. And then the fifth step is understanding how to manage the cash in your business. So knowing, the cash coming in and the cash going out, and ensure that those timing differences are covered, is extremely important, because cash is the lifeline of the business.
Oh, totally agree. It's the blood flowing. Like
Yeah.
without the blood flowing, you die. When the heart stops, you die.
Yeah.
So without that coursing through your
You die.
business's veins,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. And it's a flow that has to happen. Cash flow is blood flow.
Yeah.
100%. So I want to just talk to you a bit more, go through a few rapid fire questions that we give all of our guests that help us get to know you a little bit better and your take on some of these money topics. So I'm going to kick things off with Melissa. What is one investment that you currently can't live without?
Investment that I currently can't live without.
Mm-hmm.
That is a really tough question. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to say, investment in my business, some coaching. I invested in some coaching for my business, which I cannot live without because the return on that investment has been priceless.
Yes, I did as well. And could not agree more.
Mm-hmm.
What is one thing that you learned about money that turned out not to be true?
That money is not an endless supply. Okay. And I say this with caution, right? Because what I've learned, especially as I became a business owner, is it's not about ensuring that you live within your budget. What I like to look at it is ensuring that you earn the money that you want to make so that you can enjoy the life that you want to live.
Perfect. And what makes you feel like a millionaire?
Oh, that's a cheesy answer, but so true. My family, my husband, my kids, the love that I have with my parents, just the relationship dynamics in my family just makes me feel like I'm the luckiest person.
Awesome. Now tell our audience where they can find you, see more of you, and be part of this 5-step cash confident framework that you've set up.
Absolutely. So if you go to my website at melissahoustonCPA.com, one of the first things you're going to see is grab a copy of the 5-step roadmap to biz finance freedom. So you can grab your free copy there. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm at Melissa Houston CPA on Instagram and on LinkedIn as well.
Perfect. So definitely go check out Melissa, check out what she's up to. There is no shortage of tax advice. There's no shortage of CPAs out there who are here to help you and not to intimidate you or make you feel stupid. There are plenty of people here who are genuinely interested in changing the paradigm and the dynamic of our industry. And Melissa, I'm glad, is one of them too, along with me and many others you've heard on this show. So
that was very well said.
Thank you.
I love that. Yeah.
Appreciate that. So we'll see you guys next time. And until then, keep earning and keep keeping more of it.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if you could chat with me and our guests about this episode? Well, guess what? You can. Join the Keep What You Earn community now using the link below in the show notes. You can post your questions, chat with fellow business owners, and the best part, it's totally free. Oh, and by the way, it's not a Facebook group. That's right, no noisy notifications or distractions. Just what you need to get the full experience from listening to this podcast and maximizing your value. Meet us over there after the episode to get exclusive content and access to me and our guests for your questions. We'll see you over there. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave a rating or review wherever you listen. If you learned something new or felt inspired, please share your biggest takeaway with me on Instagram and tag me using the handle @ShannonK.Weinstein. Thank you so much for helping me spread the wealth and empower more business owners to keep what they earn. See you next time.